Well, we'll move on to reports and communications. Following reports and communication items are provided for the council's information. No action can be taken on these items under this section unless the council agrees to include it on a subsequent agenda. And first up tonight is Councilmember Espindola.
Thank you, Mayor. I just want to clarify, I've heard from community members that sometimes they will not stay through the times that each of us report because it may come off as we're not, we're bragging. I'll just say the word that was used. And I want to make sure that, at least from my point of view, that's not the intent for community. It's the reason to report is just to show, hopefully, let the community know the work that we're doing individually in our committee assignments, and then things that we may be doing individually. It's mostly just to share with the community for you to know what we're doing and working, hopefully, hard for the general all good of everyone, okay? So the community assignments that I'm on are the Bi-County Homeless JPA, no meeting. I have a meeting on the Feather River Air Quality Management District, which is on Monday. It was rescheduled from this last Monday. The North Sacramento Valley Integrated Regional Water Management Group is going to be meeting in several months down the road. I did attend the Regional Water Authority Special Board meeting on strategic planning with Diana. Quite an interesting meeting. Talk about the number of board members. There's over 60 board of directors or something to that effect. And we learned a lot about the focus of the Regional Water Authority and the direction that it's heading here in the near future. So once that particular strategic plan is completed, then we can share that with the rest of the council. The Sutter Butte Flood Control meeting is going to be next Wednesday, I believe, on April 14th. And I'm the alternate on the others. I did attend, along with my colleagues, a special joint workshop planning commission with our commissioners and our colleagues on listening to the Harder Site Pacific Plan. I also participated with our city team with Ben Moody's team and the mayor. We reviewed the CDBG-CV applications. We were the committee that reviewed that. I did have a meeting with our city manager, Dave Vaughn, and we're working on putting together the homeless workshop. So that's in the process. Mentioned earlier already, I just want to say it from my voice. I want to thank the City Public Works team for the amazing work that your team has been doing, Diana, in working on these grants and how it's just paying off all the hard work that's been done by your team. And I thank you for that. And also for Councilman Harris for his leadership on SACOG. He's been able to help bring in some of these funds and new projects and new plans that have been on the books, and he's actually helping bring these forward. So I just want to acknowledge you for that good work. Thank you so much. Some of the local community things that I was invited to, a local Indian American women who joined the farmers' rally against the laws by the Prime Minister of India. So we had a rally that I participated with, and our city manager, Dave Vaughn, was there, introduced him to the group of women. There were over about 100 women. It was an amazing event, well covered from Canada to India, from here in California. So such an honor to be there with many women and talking about the injustice of what is happening to small farmers in the country of India. I was also invited by Pastors Escobar from the Tabernáculo de Adoración in a message of unity and community. And so I gave a brief update about the city news, and we talked about vaccinations. I am a supporter of vaccinations. I have been vaccinated. My family's been vaccinated. And as the mayor earlier and others have said, I also believe that it's a personal choice of who chooses to be vaccinated or not. I respect that, but I also have experienced tremendous hardship with many family members. I've shared in the past 4 members that passed away from COVID, and just about a month ago, or about 4 or 5 weeks ago, we lost another member from COVID. So we have 5 members in my immediate family that have passed on from COVID. So there's a strong personal experience that I have had in my family. And I also clearly want to say that within my own extended family, we have our own businesses and deal with the same struggles that many other small businesses are struggling with. So I think it's responsible to do the right work to help small businesses stay in their jobs, retain, do their best. But I also want to keep people healthy and be able to make those decisions on their own. I also been working and continue to work with some local small banks on helping financial support, in particular with small businesses of English as a second language. I'm noticing that there's still struggle with getting assistance with the PPP loans. So I've been doing some direct handing off to local banks that are assisting and seeing some success in that. So it's hoping. I continue the discussion of broadband and infrastructure needs with local community members. And I have 2 last comments that I would are just kind of feel the heart and the soul. Last month, we celebrated Women's Month, and to all the women that participated of our city, Sierra was instrumental in making sure that everything that we did in the month of March occurred because of her. And I just want to say thank you from the bottom of my heart. We appreciate all the work that all the women do. Keep it up. The second thing is March 30th was Cesar Chavez, the celebration of his legacy. The founder, along with Dolores Huerta, who she's one of my role models. I have met her over the years several times. And extreme energy and just legacy. They formed the United Farm Workers of America, reminds us of the central place that organizing and collective bargaining holds in the advance of dignity and the well-being of working Americans. I believe strongly in that. I think that Cesar Chavez's work has been instrumental in helping move along the working class community. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Councilmember Harris.
All right, I was going to be brief, but I came up with a page of stuff, but I'll try to talk fast here. Primarily centers around the efforts at SACOG that the folks are doing down there. Grace mentioned with some grants that we've gotten through them, $3.7 million for improvements on Walton, along with $300,000 for improvements in the part of. There's still some funding issues, but between Del Prado and Blevin out here on Butte House Road. That's 2 of them, but then we have through Caltrans, city just received 4 Highway Safety Improvement Program grants, and a big shout out to Mr. William Jow for his hard work and efforts he did on that. It was really a pleasure to read that email and appreciate the detail on that, because there's a lot of work that goes into these applications, and he did a great job. She doesn't want me to, but I'm going to thank Diana and also Kevin for their effort in that too. I know you do definitely play a role, and it's much appreciated. Some discussions down at SACOG. Rail is expanding. The plan to go north from Stockton up into Natomas. The first trips are planned hopefully by the end of 2023 to extend rail service. We're also trying to get the network from Sacramento down to the Bay Area and Central Valley, but also there is some future plans to eventually go north up into Yuba City area by rail. Not sure on the date on that, but it is pretty exciting just to give commuters and day trippers an extra alternative to transportation. We're right back to GHG reduction and saving time and money and the environment on that. For down at CalCog, we had the regional leadership forum a couple weeks ago. It was an annual 2-day event. And just reporting back on that, the themes that we often talk about here reducing vehicle miles traveled, reducing greenhouse gas emissions, work with the feds for transportation infrastructure, our housing crisis, how to manage our REAP funds, and of course, keep in contact and try to meet with our RENA goals. That is not unique to here. I mean, it's all over the place. There's statewide issues and concerns. We also had, we have a working group at SACOG specifically, but also at CALCOG, the discussion of equality versus equity, trying to ensure folks who may have been disadvantaged unintentionally, or perhaps unfortunately sometimes way back when, intentionally, because of some divisions, perhaps racial divisions. We're trying to combat those, had a discussion on that, how those concepts translate and then manifest by way of applicable policies. But one thing that was interesting that they brought up was the discussion of equality and equity is not necessarily on a basis of race. It's also based on rural versus not rural. Sometimes the rural communities, we happen to be at least semi-rural, we don't necessarily have the resources as some of the big cities do, and therefore they have a bigger voice when we have just as big of need, at least proportionally. And so we're having a discussion about the how do we even the playing field, even based on that. So looking forward to more information with that. Statewide discussion on Highway 99, and bring that up because we have Highway 99 going through here. The discussion was primarily on the harbor and freight logistics, dealing with, again, the harbor, rail, and trucking, and how those three work together. That is it on that. And of course, we had I've been having local discussions with our Chamber of Commerce and the Yuba City Arts and Culture regarding establishing a film commission and even a film festival here in Yuba City. If anyone would like to be more information on that, I would love to talk about that. I have spoken briefly with the mayor, and it's a very exciting opportunity, a possible opportunity for our community to have a film commission. You bring folks in here for documentaries, for commercials, for music videos, for TV shows, for feature films, even short films. They bring crews with them, and they have to eat, and they have to sleep, and they have to buy gas, and they have to hire a local crew and things. And so it can only benefit us and highlight our community. So looking forward to being part of that. It's kind of exciting. Pleasure to attend the reception. Welcome Mr. Dave Vaughn as our city manager. And as I mentioned, I did a ride along with Gus from RHA. That is it for me. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Councilman Kirchner.
Through the mayor, thank you for letting me doing this virtual this week. I appreciate that. I can't see the entire screen with the audience, but the general sentiment I got from tonight's discussion with the audience members is people are tired. They're tired of COVID, and I can completely understand. And I think we're all tired of it. But we want what's best for our city, though, and to get our businesses open as quickly and as safely as possible. I received a phone call yesterday from one of my exchange students who lives and goes to school in Frankfurt, Germany. And they're under their third lockdown. There are no tier levels. They're locked down, and they don't have the access to the vaccinations that they do apparently in our country. So it's also something to consider. But I do want to thank our mayor for his leadership during this pandemic, and point out that I think he's done a great job with that. So moving forward on commissions, it's been kind of slow. As was mentioned before, on the 23rd, I attended the meet and greet for our fantastic new city manager, Dave Vaughn. Thank you for inviting me to that, Dave. On the 24th, as was before, we had a special joint workshop, Planning Commission. A lot of exciting stuff going on in our town. And lastly, I got a privilege of being invited on a ride-along, a tour with the Regional Housing Authority with Council Member Harris and Gus. It was very informative. I learned a lot, and I was amazed by the demand for those types of services. And with that, I'm going to push it back to the mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Councilmember Kirchner. Vice Mayor Shaw.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'll try to be brief tonight. Yuba City Transit Authority met since our last meeting and finally started to move forward on site selection. The subcommittee that we set aside, Councilmember Harris is on. They chose a site, unfortunately not within Yuba City. It's in Linda, but it is beginning to move forward because Yuba Center Transit Authority is going to have to build a new state-of-the-art facility as Highway 70 begins widening and comes on into Marysville. Secondly, back to discussions we had earlier, that part of that project that the RHA showed, the 170 some odd units, part of that, they are seeking a grant from SACOG as well to buy 2 buses for Yuba Center Transit that would be zero emissions. So that's kind of how things begin to work around here a little bit, the synergies. RWMA, the Regional Waste Management Authority, did not meet. Still in development of the JPA that would be brought forth. We were looking that may be coming to the council late April, early May. It looks like that will be coming to the council closer to June, and looking to get that before all jurisdictions so that we would have something going into the next fiscal year. As we talked earlier, the mayor, you asked me to serve on the Business Retention Task Force. We've had our first meeting. Second meeting is in the morning. I look forward to talking to you afterwards tonight. I think you'll find that we haven't been asleep at the wheel as much as people think. And you'll see that we're doing a lot of things to keep the businesses, because the design of that is really, we want to look at 3 questions. What are we doing right? What are we doing wrong? And what are we not doing that we should be doing? That's the gist of it. And as the DBA has already told us earlier, your council has been there standing in the gap the past year. So we want to make sure that we're doing everything we can to support our businesses. So that one is coming up tomorrow. We've been continuing to work on the Master Tax Exchange Agreement. I'm hopeful, and I will leave it at that. We need to get that project done. Lastly, the development impact fees. We have already seen the impact that it's had. Mr. Moody can speak to that, because we started a year ago in January, just before we all got told to stay home. And it was, you guys will never get it done in a year. And we did the first wave in about 3 months, and that has sparked a lot of interest in this city. We missed it for about a decade by keeping fees too high and ignoring things. And the development just passed our city right by. So now we're playing catch up. But we've got a lot of good things in the hopper. And the mayor and myself has been working with Sabufka and had that meeting. I think we talked about that last time, as well as the Yuba City School District. And so looking forward to bringing back more positive things, because we've got to continue to be open for business and grow Yuba City and grow it the right way. So that's basically it. Mr. Vaughn, great reception. Thank you. I attended the breakfast one. And Mr. Mayor, thank you for your, again, as Mr. Kirshner said, thank you for your leadership during this time.
Thank you. My turn. I'm going to talk about the city manager for a moment. He's probably not going to like this, but a couple things. He was invited to present this morning at the Chamber of Commerce's Governmental Affairs Committee meeting, and did an excellent job. He flashed up a figure of how many meetings he's attended in his now 33 days. 32, but you said, I think 33, whatever. 189 meetings so far. Go figure. And he also made a comment I thought was pretty good, which was he's contributing to our water shortage, because he's not only drinking out of a fire hose, he's drinking out of a water main right now. So anyway, it's nice nice to have you on board with us. I know that there's a lot of stuff going on, and you're tackling that stuff. I do want to thank Peachtree Golf Country Club. They are the folks that are now running the City Club, which used to be the City Cafe. And they were gracious enough to host a meet and greet for our new city manager, and it was well attended, 3 different sessions. As for the Master Tax Exchange Agreement, we have proposed, received counter-proposals, proposed, received counter-proposals. Right now, we're awaiting some direction from the county on our last proposal back to them. We did meet with the developers and did spend a few moments just explaining to them from the city's position, how we were coming up with the things that we were interested in, and that meeting went well. And I do, as the Vice Mayor says, I'm looking forward to hopefully wrapping this thing up. It does need to get done. You've heard about us talking about the Harder Project. The Harder Project, we had a joint meeting with the Planning Commission. That's all that area that is west of the Walmart complex. Looking forward to that. There's a lot of interest in that development as well as Bogue Stewart area. On development impact fees, we continue to move in that direction. And to the Vice Mayor's comments, staff has done a great job of taking in the abundance of new applications and interest that the impact fee reductions have resulted in. I do want to make sure that we message out completely that we're not doing this with the idea that we're going to disadvantage the city. The idea here is that we're going to strike the sweet spot that's between enough development to help pay for the services that new development will require. I believe we are able to do that. We are meeting with Sutter Buttes Flood Control Agency membership tomorrow afternoon to talk about some potential reductions in their impact fees, which will, again, be helpful to development. I do want to also mention, Councilwoman mentioned it, the Community Development Block Grant, COVID style. We had something like $2.4 million worth of requests that we had to cut down to $800,000. All the requests were worthy. And it was very difficult for us to make that recommendation, but that will be coming to the council, I believe, in the next meeting for approval. There are some really neat programs, and one that's kind of an innovative one that Councilwoman and I are going to present to you on some housing things. Other than that, I do also want to share the Councilmember Harris's excitement over the Film Commission. This is something that Marnie Sanders mentioned to me back a while ago. I do think there is, this area has a history of attracting movie making. It's got some pretty unique features around here that I think will generate some interest, and I'm pleased that we're moving in that direction as well. I think that's something that we'll need to keep our eye on going forward. Other than that, I wanted to do one thing I didn't do. Sorry, there's Ben back there too. On the community development block grants is thank you. You and Jaspreet and the consultants and the rest of your staff. The outreach that happened this time was something that I think was way above and beyond which has happened in the past. And I think that knowledge out in the community probably drove a lot of those extra requests. It has sort of a good and a bad. We got a lot of requests, but we have some interest, and that's good. That's the way that program should work, is where it's out there. So to you and Jaspreet, thank you very much.
Through the mayor.
Yeah.
Correction, we will be bringing those forward on May 4th, first May, meeting in May.
All right. I think that's enough. Yeah.
I just wanted to add that George Barlow also helped out with that particular grant and reaching out to some of those. So just wanted to make sure that.
Thank you for reminding me. Yes, George, he's the keeper of the spreadsheet. And you can imagine how important that is. So I was, yep. Okay. Anything else before we close? All right. This meeting will be adjourned.